And we're back with me, Johnny McMurray, on the On the Spot Football podcast with another fantastic guest. This guy, I don't think I've ever bumped into him and he didn't have a smile on his face. A guy who almost lost it all playing the game that we love, Scotty Irvine. Scotty, how are you, sir?
I'm good, mate. Good, delighted to be here.
Good. Well, thank you for coming on. Aye. It's been a roller coaster, lad.
Has been, Johnny. Yes, it's good to be here to talk about it too. But yeah, loads of fun, loads of really good stories, and
we're going to dive into everything. So hopefully we're able to cover most things. But in terms of that, we're obviously going to start with you. You've played the game, you've coached in the game, you've been around a load of rabbits in the game, and we ultimately played together at one stage. So there's a lot to cover here. Yeah. Hopefully it'll be funny. Do you know what I mean? It'll be good. But what I want to do is I want to take you back. Kind of your days as a kid growing up and kind of have like a wee pattern to follow. So where did you grow up? How did you get into football? How did you get introduced to the game?
Yeah, so grew up Green Island Estate. Dad's from Shangle, my mum's from East Belfast, and they set up home in Green Island and born and bred there, and basically learned how to play football on the street. Every time I went out, I had a ball at my feet, and I'd play basically the whole estate. So you're talking maybe 20, 30, 40 people at a time, you know, so it was really good. And from a really young age, I was used to playing with men, adults, whether it been in the park or over at the pitches. So that was my really early days, and there wasn't really a club in Green Island. Green Island were just starting off, so that one wasn't really an option for me, and played for school teams, but I didn't have a club until first year.
What's that, 12, 13?
Yeah, well, about 11, 12 maybe, yeah. Then you go to secondary school and you're in the school football team, and I was half decent and ended up being best mates with D. Wiggum, whose dad took St. Nicky's.
Okay.
We boys club in Carrick, so invited down there and playing it down in Connor League, and I was about 2 foot, Johnny.
You are quite small, like.
But I was tiny. So I get kicked to bits, but my game, I was just rapid. So I used to just knock it by people and get shots. Started off as centre forward and really enjoyed playing there, and I think maybe stayed there about a year, and then went in the Carrick's youth team, maybe under 13s, under 14s, and really quickly then started going through the age groups, and at 15, 16 was playing reserves, and then at 16 made my debut, 16, 17 maybe made my debut for the first team. So yeah, I learned to play in the street. That's something that really annoys me at the minute when I'm driving through, and I'm still in Green Island, and I would drive through and I don't see any kids out playing football. And
it's hard to think of, because one thing you touched on there is something that I kind of think that I'm lucky with. So the fact that you said that you grew up playing in the street and football and all your mates were out, whether it be you're running around like maniacs, you were Rapidor runaway, you were 10-man hunt or whatever it was, there was always big groups of kids flooding the streets, and that doesn't exist anymore to a certain extent. It doesn't
happen. And as you say, like, you were either playing football or a game of hunts, and a game of hunts was a whole estate.
It was everybody, like 20, 30
brilliant.
kids.
And like, you weren't in until the street lights came on. So no, really, really good upbringing, really supportive family. Mum and dad were brilliant. Really loving home, and just a really, really good upbringing, Johnny.
See, when you talk about Green Island there, sorry to jump in on you, but you're saying there wasn't much at that time in Green Island. Green Island's like a force now when you look at it. So you're from there. The whole situation that they have down there, the club, the pitches, the youth system, the setup, it's easily one of the best in the country.
That's phenomenal.
But everyone, you always hear the kids at that young age, and then I think there's obviously partner programs now with Irish League teams and stuff, and these kids come away at a certain age. But if Green Island held on to the kids and created a men's team, or maybe they have a men's team, but just kept them all.
Well, they did have a men's team, or a man's team, sorry. So when I was playing for the youth team, so it was Green Island Old Boys.
Right, okay.
So when I was playing for Carrick's 15s or 16s, used to play in the morning. And then I would have went and played for Green Island as a ringer.
Right.
As a kid.
To say ringers usually somebody that's 50 or 60 years older trying to play.
I was about 2'0". But I was used to playing with adults and lads older than me all the time, so it was never basically saving me going and playing in the park if I'm going to play for Green Island Old Boys. But in terms of the way the setup is now, Gilsey was actually starting all the youth teams, and the way the age groups came about, I think I was maybe 2 years too old. And then the likes of Johnny Evans and stuff were coming through, and it's just a shame because it's literally 50 yards from where I grew up, so it would have been so handy for me. But yeah, like I'd have played for Carrick under 15s, under 16s in the morning, went and played for Green Island Old Boys in the afternoon. It was
unbelievable.
Loved it.
That's the way your childhood should. I mean, I always think back to that, and sometimes the way the reserve games used to go, some of the reserve games kicked off at 12, and then you'd have went straight up to the first team, or you'd played 19s and went straight into playing reserves. And at times you were playing 2 games a day.
Yeah.
Or you were getting an hour, 20 minutes at a higher level.
And you're young enough so you can play them. It's not a problem. And it benefits clubs too, because it means if they have more people to pick from. And I have a funny story. I played in the morning, then went and played for Green Island Old Boys in the afternoon. Let's just say I was always quick, so I knocked the ball by this boy, crossed into the box, nearly scored. I thought, this is easy street to do. Scored him up again, knocked it by him. Did it again, and the way past, just grabbed me in the headlock, hit me a punch in the head. Now, Johnny, I was about 15 at the time, and I was like a grown man, big hurry back man. I was like, what's going on here? He was like, don't do that to me again. I was like, right, okay.
Fair enough.
So the rest of the game, then, every time it came to me, I was just popping it off. I was like, I'm going to get emptied here. So no, all those kind of things, they're now, for me, it's part of what's missing in development football, because you're not getting that. You're going and playing against your own age groups, and then you're thrown into the deep end, and
it's such a big jump.
Senior setup, and boys are leaving one on you, and you just shy away. Mm-hmm. So I was able to learn that at 14, 15, and
it stands by you.
It stands by you and becomes just part of the game, Johnny. So, but no, really good upbringing, and loved it. So from then, I'd say about 16. I was in 5th year. I remember being in 5th year at the time when I made my debut for Carrick. I remember getting a wage too. Got
15?
Oh, I was like 16. I was like,
is that a wee brown envy?
I got my wee brown envelope. And I guess it's great.
A couple of pound coins rattling it.
And I'll probably pay about £4. I always remember thinking to myself, right, well, I'm going to start taking this seriously now and maybe make a few quid out of it. But like a lot of young lads, I thought I knew best and wanted to be a first teamer, and I was only a pup, Johnny. So it was Alan Campbell who actually took me and gave me my debut. Man, I have loads of respect for and loads of time for. Brilliant coach, brilliant man. And he just threw me in. It was great. I loved it.
One of those things, sorry to jump in there, you ended up full circle. Did you think that you took some of the stuff? Now, I don't want to jump too far ahead here, but you've done the same thing. You're saying there, he took you, Carrick, just threw you in. You've done the exact same thing with kids at Carrick. Do you think that came sort of from that? And then those conversations was like, kids deserve the chance?
Possibly. I always think that, and this isn't being disrespectful, I always think at smaller clubs you have to have a good mix and a real good blend of experience in young lads. And young lads bring energy.
Yep. They're
so brave. They don't think about the consequences, Johnny. They try things that maybe you wouldn't try if the more experience you get. So I'm not sure if it was a thing of I was given an opportunity then we'll do the same. I don't think it was like that. I think there has to be a good blend at the so-called smaller clubs in the country, and when you don't have such a big budget and go out and sign 20 players on X amount of money, and you give kids an opportunity. And a lot of the time that we found when we were coaching was they back it up, and they thrive off it.
When you enter that setup of making your debut, you're probably 17, 18 here. Was it a big change for you going into that game at that level, or do you think that you were well equipped at this stage after the experiences that you had?
It helped, but I was tiny. I was small. I always tried to gain weight, and I couldn't. I remember like proteins and then gym and weight gain, and my mom's still a feeder. Like, just honestly, it was like
Don't talk to me.
Don't
talk to me.
But I couldn't gain weight, Johnny. So
Scott, that's not a hard thing here, because I was
I'm starting
16, you know what I mean?
I'm starting to
I
get
couldn't get away from it.
But yeah, so I was always aware that I couldn't get into any sort of physical battles. I'm trying to use my pace, and I remember one of my first games away to Windsor, and I took a touch in the halfway line out the far side, and Pat McShane hit me a tackle. I was almost like out of the Irish League wee man.
Yeah.
And I still remember the tackle.
I'm surprised it didn't try and hurt you. Pat was nasty. Like,
he knew what he was at.
Yeah.
And I ended up working with Pat at Larne, and the great man, unbelievable player. But yeah, I always knew that I had to find a way in. Couldn't really get into too many battles because I was so small, but no real fear, Johnny, because I was used to it growing up.
When you kind of stay in that situation, then you've played a few games, you've got a bug for the Irish League. Are you just wanting to kick on at Carrick? And how did that turn out for you?
I wanted to kick on in general in terms of playing men's football, and that was probably to my detriment. So I played a Resi's game on a Tuesday night. I can't remember who it was against, but I ended up getting fouled. I thought it was a foul, but I fell on the ball and the boy kept kicking me, and I stood up dead quickly. And it was a senior lad, and he hit the dirt. I started rolling about, and I sent off. I was like, I never touched him. Like, couldn't believe it was a red card. I got a 12-game ban.
Right.
It was all over the Ireland Saturday night. Remember that Ireland Saturday night? It was like bad boy Irvine tops, like caution list, 12-game ban. I was like, what do I do now?
Yeah.
And about 3-4 weeks after that, Alan Campbell got sacked. Paul Mooney then came in, and obviously I wasn't an option.
Yeah.
I couldn't play for the next 3 months, and I was like, I'm not going to do here. I'm not going to play. It's as simple as that. And Paul went out and signed his own players, and I kind of knew at that stage, right, I need to look for another club.
Yeah.
At that stage, Linfield had called the house and spoke to my dad, and obviously I was playing first team, and knew if I went to Linfield I would probably be playing 18s or whatever, and we felt that we'll stay where we are at Carrick, and then that happened. So it was like, what do I do next? I went and spoke to Crusaders, and I went there obviously to play reserve team football to try and break into the first team, and I just couldn't settle. I don't know why, Johnny, but I just couldn't settle. And I don't know whether it was the whole thing of I've had a wee bit of first team.
You've got that itch, that bug, and you're like, I should be there.
Yes, I need to be here. And I'm going, well, I think I'm better than him. In reality, I wasn't.
Yeah.
But if I had stuck about and kind of bide my time, I believe it would have got in. I was in the same team as the likes of Beaver and Coatsy, and really good reserve team. But I just couldn't settle. I was going to training and dreading it, and you know me, that's not me. I loved my football, and at that stage, it was just like, listen, I'm not enjoying this. I need to go somewhere where I love it again. And at that stage, I went back to Carrick and joined Barn United.
Right.
And Alan Campbell ended up being a manager. So it worked out really, really well. Not in terms of where I wanted to play in regards to level, but again, part of my development was that playing against men and the physicality of it, and being managed by a man who managed in the Premier League for so long, you know. So it was really good times there. Unbelievable group of lads.
Yeah.
Like, just like an old school changing room, Johnny, where it was like pranks and just, it was top drawer. And we ended up winning the league and cup. And just had a really good side. It was around the time where you could sign Irish League and then play amateur league.
Right, okay.
So we had the likes of Andy Wade, Billy Wade, Glenn Taggart.
Yeah.
Dixie Noel Dean actually made a play at some stage. G McKee, who was a Carrick. So we were a really, really good side for an amateur league team.
You just go out every week battering people by the sound of it.
People.
It's always enjoyable when you win.
Saying that, all the other teams were doing it. Like, you were going and playing Foundry and your boys who played for Linfield, and
yeah,
that's just the way the league's operated. But in terms of the changing rooms, it was
madness,
like proper madness. We played Rosario, I think it was. It was my 21st birthday, and I was always the last to get showered. We'd won the game 2-0 or something. I was always the last to get showered. And I drove up that day with 3 or 4 boys in the car. So anyway, boys all started going out of the change room, and I was still sitting in my flip-flops waiting to get in the shower. So and then I get showered, and I come out, and my keys, my boxers and my trainers were sitting. That was it. My bag was gone, all my clothes were gone. I was like, nah, you are kidding me. I was the only one left. The kit man and all gone. So I walked out and no other cars, just my cars. And I was like, pair of trainers and my boxers. So I had to drive through Belfast city centre. 1st of October, that's my birthday. Dull, miserable day, driving through Belfast city centre and just a pair of boxers. Honestly, mate, it was... I remember pulling up a set of lights and this family beside me just looking at me, and I was like, how are you? But no, it's just, that was every week. There was something like that. It was just unbelievable spirit, unbelievable group of lads, and really, really good time.
Kind of set you going forward then, having that sort of group. But I don't want to jump ahead just straight away, because you touched on the team that you had at Crusaders. Who was managing Cruise at the time?
Alan Dornan.
And did you find that his style of managing, because Alan's been mentioned a few times now over the last couple of weeks, how did you find Alan signing there? Obviously maybe Kane had the conversation with you, your parents, and then did you think that there was a chance of playing there, and then it just didn't live up to what he had kind of said?
I thought I was going to get in. I don't know whether that was because of how good I thought I was, or previous experience at Carrick. But Alan was great with me. Like, you're kind of at that stage where you have a part-time job and all as well, Johnny,
yeah.
You know, so it was like you're having to change shifts and nights you couldn't get training and all those kind of things. If you're a first-team manager, you're just going,
I don't want to deal with that extra stress.
Yeah. That'll not do me, kid, dead on.
Yeah.
Do you know, that way? But in terms of that, I've never had any issues with Alan. Didn't really have too many dealings with him, to be honest, because I was just chipping away at the reserve team. But for me, if I'd have just waited it out and just been patient and not got ahead of myself, I definitely back myself to have played in that team, because the amount of players then that followed, like we Didi, McMaster, Kyle McDowell, Beaver, as I say, Coachy, loads of them just came in and were all filtered in the first team.
And stayed for quite a long, substantial period.
And were really successful too, you know, so I jumped ship way too soon. And that's probably a massive regret in terms of my career and the path that it took. But at that time, I thought I was right. And that's probably been a really good experience for me when you go into coaching.
Okay.
And you have that on the other side where you've kids going, listen, I need to go out alone, and you're kind of going, just relax. Just trust us.
All right.
I think maybe if I'd have had that conversation, I would have stayed put. But
do you think now is different than then? So you've mentioned there that you wanted to go. At that stage you're going, right, time for me to go. I want to get out. People didn't really do that back then as such, or challenge people as such. Kids now obviously go on Instagram, Facebook, TV, whatever it is, and they see all these superstars. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing that. I want out of this. It's a different situation now, probably as a manager and a coach like you.
And it's so much easier now to get a move. Like, you go on and post something saying, I'm fed up.
Yeah.
Get me a move. And then
or you just phone someone and be like,
yeah,
oh.
Get me a move here. And you didn't have any social media then. It was basically you go to people who you'd worked with, or you
found comfort in enough before the time that
trust is a massive thing for me, Johnny.
Yeah,
massive thing for me, and trust your principles, how you treat people, all those kind of things. So, getting to work with Alan again was brilliant. Kind of a guy who gives you an opportunity in the Irish League, and you can go back and work with him again. So yeah, that was massive. And
was it a very easy decision at that stage to go Barnes, where it is Alan takes over? I'm more than content to stay here and play it out and see how things progress.
Yeah, absolutely. And basically, I was happy to stay there as long as Alan stayed.
Yeah,
and it took Alan to leave for me to go.
Right. Okay.
Because it was, as I say, changing room was fantastic. 10 minutes from my house. Real community club at the time, you know. So it was just really enjoyable time to play football. And you had a manager who wanted you to do as well as you could and really kick you on. I love working for him. And yeah, so it took him to leave for me to then move again. And at that stage I went and signed for Ballyclare. And again, I went there to try and kick my career on again, and to get back into it and play regularly, which was a massive thing for me. I didn't want to go somewhere and be a bit part again. I didn't want to be on the fringes. I wanted to go somewhere and add value to it. And I feel that I did that at Ballyclare.
Did you go into Ballyclare and go straight in?
Yeah. Pretty much. Old school 4-4-2, play as a right winger, play against your fullback.
I love it. I don't get why people don't. I understand there's systems and tactics and stuff, but I love it.
It's brilliant.
I love it. It's my favourite thing to do, or even if it's a 3-5-2, as long as there's two people up there.
Two centre forwards.
That's me all over. I love it.
I can see it starting to drift back in, but yeah, I kind of just knew, right, me against you. I take my fullback on. I love my time there, really good time, and kind of a key milestones in my life too. I got married when I was at Ballyclare, and had my daughter, and it kind of was really comfortable and enjoying my football and all again. And Harry McConkey brought me in the junior international team, and couple of trips there, and just a really good club, really loyal fans, and yeah, a really good time at Ballyclare.
When you're at Ballyclare there and you get called up to that team with Harry, that's probably a big thing to happen, considering where Ballyclare are at that stage.
Yeah, we had three in our, myself, Paddy Flood, 4 actually, Mark McClelland, Andy Forsyth, Paddy Flood, Mark McClelland, Andy Sims.
Right.
All get into the Regions team. I think maybe over the space of 2 years, so it was maybe 3, and then
you get a good few trips out of that, don't you?
Fantastic, John. Fantastic. My first one actually turned out to be touch and go, whether it could go. It was Macedonia.
Right.
And Brooke, my eldest daughter, was due the dates we were away. I was like, oh no, I'm going to miss this out. I've been flying in the build up to it. So I had a chat with my wife, and she was like, my wife's my superhero, like, she's fantastic. She was just like, go and do it. I'll probably go over. I'll probably be 10 days over.
That's, I mean, I can't see much other people. So
I know.
They're like, you're not going anywhere this close.
No.
This goes and you're not here.
Honestly,
you're dead.
So Brooke was due on like the 6th of May or something. And the trip went on to like the 10th. And so we played Sweden, right? And went in and played the game, and we won 1-0. And I think I set up a goal or something. Boy scored a goal back post. Back in the changing room, Johnny, I had 17 missed calls from my missus. I was like, oh no, what's happened? She's went into labour or whatever. Waters are burst. And I had arranged with the IFA that I would just get the next flight home if she did. So I could change quickly and go out in the car park and phone her. And I was like, what's wrong? What's wrong? And she was like, no, nothing. I seen the score. I was watching it on the UEFA website and I seen they set up a goal. Well done. And I was like, you kidding me?
Yeah, heart in your stomach.
Honestly, I was petrified. So yeah, some unbelievable trips. Like some stories obviously can't tell. But tremendous, really, really good. Harry was an unbelievable coach too.
I was about to say, I was going to touch on Harry as a coach. He's done a lot of good things in the game.
Unbelievable. Yeah. So detailed. Him and Trevor McKendry. So detailed. Like every player went in the game knowing exactly what they were doing, what was expected of them. It was kind of at that stage where you're getting into training sessions where it was like you're doing this and then you're going here and
like some build up plays and stuff where you never really got that.
Never really got it, Johnny. So you had some boys who never used to it, just like stand at the back like tying their laces and all because they were lost. They didn't have it. I loved it. Really, really good.
See, when you're at Ballyclare and you're getting those call ups and you're going away, is that you probably at your most comfortable considering what's happened up until this point?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And it offers then the move and go into the Premier League at that stage. But as I say, I probably had a wee bit of self-doubt and then a wee bit of realisation of where I was as a player.
Right.
Kind of knew I was a decent championship player.
Right.
And I would rather do that and play than play 5-10 games.
A handful of games when you go up or be fighting in there where you know you're going to play every week.
Yeah, so that was massive to me. And yeah, as I say, being in that region setup as well and knowing if you performed you would stay in that and get your trips away. And
it was coming up every year, didn't it? Like every
it was fantastic. Like there's so many good memories out of that and good friends.
It's a thing that kind of comes around and you can only do it if you haven't really had so many appearances or something.
Yes, it's if you've played pro in X amount of years or something. So like the Umbro Cup's different.
Right, okay.
Because I remember Pat when he was at Lauren, he went off to play in the Umbro Cup. I don't know what the conditions are for it, but
criteria for it is
maybe in the last like 2-3 years, you haven't been a pro or something like that. But no, unbelievable trips.
It's really good incentive to go away, isn't it? There's nothing like going away on like pre-season trips or those internationals, and you're sitting going.
Johnny, it was like being a full-time footballer.
That's the first time you ever really experienced it, isn't it?
Proper full-time.
Morning, afternoon.
Get up for your meetings. You're going and having your lunches together. You're going and doing your analysis stuff. Train in the evenings. Dinner. All as a group. And then the things the lads get up to and
go mental.
All that.
Do you know what? It's kind of funny when we went away. We went to Basel. And me and Geordie Forsyth Cruz got really close. And the boys were all going mental. Me and him were watching Love Island every 9 o'clock. We were sitting at the edge of bed on Love Island. Me and him, we were rapping on the door, we bag of crisps, and we bar chocolate. He was like, "You ready?" I was like, "I can't wait."
Ours wasn't that. But now there's some.
That's me getting. That was me getting organised. Love Island.
I would be like that now. It was good crack.
So you stay at Ballyclare. You finally move on. After, I think you were at Ballyclare for a couple of years.
Yeah.
And then you move just down the road, not too far away. What did you find good about Lauren?
I love Lauren. I loved it, honestly. So how that came about, that summer, I had been playing for about the last 3 months with a hernia. I couldn't finish a game at Ballyclare and I got really frustrated. And then Tommy Kincaid phoned me. I was like, would you be interested in speaking to me? And I was like, 100%, yeah, no problem. So Tommy came to the house and loved everything he said. I got really excited about it and obviously what Tommy had done as a manager in the past. And I was like, yeah, I want to go and work for you. But I still had a hernia.
Yeah.
So penciled my operation in for the summer. Started pre-season and then I had to stop, get my hernia done, and I only really got playing for Tommy for about 4 games before he left.
Yeah.
at that stage, it was still 4-4-2 right winger taking on your full back. But I came back from hernia, Johnny, and I lost about 3 yards apiece. I remember going by a boy and he caught up with me again. I was like, what's happened here?
Yeah.
So I had to learn how to play midfield. And so Tommy then left and Graham took over. And like, I'm not joking, Johnny, we didn't have a pot to piss in. Like,
Yeah.
But then all of a sudden, Stuart King came to the club, Mark Picking, Pat McShane, Chick, Big Robbie White. You're kind of going,
they're all excellent field players. So
it's great.
Yeah.
This is unbelievable. Ross Black. It's like, this will do me. Happy days. So they had no intentions of going anywhere.
Yeah.
But we could never afford to play our best team.
Yeah.
Just whatever way the budget was done, we could never afford to play the best team. So it was bonkers. Like, I remember Robbie White scored a hat trick on the Saturday, and then the following week he was in a stand because I couldn't afford to get him in. It was madness, and it was the same every week.
Who structured those bonuses?
I have no idea.
He's getting the money for it, and he can get the money and pay him.
But honestly, every week it was one of us was left out. Well, it was Giggsy, Stuarty, myself, Robbie. It was bonkers, but in terms of Lauren itself, loved it. Fans, phenomenal.
Yeah.
Loved them. That football club was everything to them.
Yeah.
And you felt it. And I suppose like any club, they just wanted hard work and honesty. That was kind of my game, so we fit it in rightly.
See, whenever you think about the team, because I was talking about this earlier when I was writing a few questions down, and I was thinking to myself, at that stage when I had signed, they were all still there, bar Pat, I think. And you're sitting going, that team is nowhere close to a championship team.
Mm-hmm.
But it was like the most fun that anyone's ever had. But it's not like I can't say it wasn't taken seriously, because it was. But it was just fun. It didn't really seem like there was any, like, we need to get up here. If that makes sense. But it was, they still wanted to win every week, but it was like, I don't know how to describe it. It just wasn't like, this is what we need.
Yes, it was almost like they were content to remain in the championship.
And it was their team, and they'd all became best mates, and it was like, we're just going to play with our mates on a Saturday.
It was phenomenal. And like, again, and it's kind of a theme and a trend throughout my career where changing room so important. And even when I was coaching, it was the exact same. When you focus on your changing room, because ultimately it's everything there. But that changing room was phenomenal. Like, that group of lads was brilliant, and as you say, it was just so much fun going to training. And
at this stage too, just to let everybody know, it was that old road.
Mm-hmm.
I remember passing my driving test. It took me an hour and a half to get to Lauren. I was like, what is going on? There was one lane, and you're stuck behind a lorry at 5, 6 o'clock.
Well, I used to come over the mountain. And it was, during the winter, it was like
madness.
You were struggling to stay on the road. Like,
yeah.
But now, honestly, I love my time there. It's really, really good fun. And obviously then Graham left and our big mate came in.
Big Macca come in.
Big Davey came in, and he wasn't like that, as you know.
Yes.
He had his demands, and that kind of refocused me particularly, and kind of gave me a new lease of life as well, Johnny. Because when you're going through managers every kind of 6 months, it's tiring too. But
one of the things that you've missed there is Tommy came in, and for most people, I don't think this happened to you from speaking to you just there, but somebody signs you and you take all their words on board, and you're sitting going, can't wait to play for this person, and then you don't get to play for them, and then you're going, not again. Surely in the back of your head you're sitting going like, what am I supposed to do now? Like, he's gone. I was banking on him being her. He was telling me I was going to do this, and this. And then straight away you're like, 4 games he's out, and you're like, start again.
No, it
was your head gone at that stage?
Brutal.
Be like,
brutal, because obviously you're only after an operation and you're trying to get up to speed and impress and get in, and going through a bad patch of games too. So you're wanting to get in and kind of influence games and kind of turn results, and kind of wasn't able to do that. And then don't actually know the ins and outs of why Tommy left, but he's a great man.
Yeah,
loads and loads of time for Tommy. Really, really good, and I wish I'd worked with him longer, but never got the opportunity. And I remember being at when Graham signed the likes of Sturdy and that. I was kind of thinking to myself, right, does he fancy me here?
Yeah.
But I was like, well, I don't care who you are. No offense, but I don't really care who you've played for. You're going to play beside me because I'm not giving you my shirt.
Yeah.
And it was that kind of
attitude towards things where I'm here. Like
I'm here. I was here before you. I'll still be here. And that kind of approach, and ended up that team we probably should have done a whole lot better.
100%.
Yeah,
without a doubt.
We definitely should have. And then when Davey came in, we just missed out. But yeah, fantastic club.
See, my experience at Lauren was good because I've spoken about this before. Because I came into the change room with the likes of yourselves, who were all at that stage where you just wanted people to do well. So any kids that came in, it wasn't a thing where he's in to do this and they're going to bring him in, he has to play. And it was more of he's in to do this. And we had to train up at the cliff, and it was the coldest place on the planet, and you were out and
just become one of us. And
it was mental. It was one of the best experiences.
That's the way those people are, Johnny. It was just a welcoming environment, and anybody who came in the change room, it was just like, right, okay, you're a part of it.
Yeah.
I remember your car school.
Yeah.
Absolute mooncats.
Yeah, the whole bus was.
But you fit it in brilliantly.
Yeah.
And it was class, as you say. You're up on the cliff and hail and rain, and
it is the coldest place.
And that was in the middle of summer too.
Oh God, it's freezing.
Baltic. But no, really, really good times, and I'm just so happy that the fans who were going to games when they had nothing, they actually got the alarm when
the diehards now, and they're kind of relishing the fact that they're
100%, and all the success that has come since then is brilliant for them.
You talk about it being a good club and how much fun you had there, but ultimately you had one of the hardest times of your life at the same time.
Yeah. Worst experience of my life by a mile. And I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. Honestly, Johnny, it was horrific. So, playing Carrick in the Irish Cup, 5th round maybe. I was playing right wing back.
First of the title, you see.
First of the
You can do that.
Can't remember why.
You can do that.
Can't remember why. Stu Scott, I think, maybe he was hurt. I went and played right wing back that day. And the only thing I remember of that day is washing my boots in the morning, and I have a photograph of Brooke holding my boots. It was only a wee tote, like.
Definitely Puma Kings or
no, they were Copas.
It's something, and then there were something up again, like laces down, laces down
black
the back of it.
And then I remember making a tackle on Miguel. The ball got played through. We played 3-5-2, and the ball got played through 2 centre halves or something, and I was right wing back, and I came across and kind of like last ditch tackle and just got my toe to the ball. And if I hadn't, I would have been sent off. And I wish I hadn't got the ball in there.
Right, okay.
And then I don't remember anything else. I remember that night waking up in the hospital and like just projectile vomiting, and it was blood. I had no clue what happened. None whatsoever. So yeah, a real horrible day, and a real testing and emotional kind of journey that I was about to go on, along with everybody around me who was affected by it, particularly my wife and parents. And, yeah, it was horrible. It was horrible.
See, when you kind of wake up at that stage, can you actively remember being at the game, or do you just wake up, you just don't remember anything? Did you have any sort of
at that stage,
memory of anything? You just woke up,
Johnny,
seeing faces, and
I remember seeing my wife, and I had no clue what had happened. And regardless of what she told me, I had still no clue. And even now, I don't know how many days it was before I kind of realised and understood what had happened. So I didn't have to go into a coma.
Okay.
So your body's so clever. My brain basically just switched off. It was just like, you need rest. Your whatever comes off the back of trauma. And just switched off, and I went to sleep for days. And I woke up and my head was out here and black eyes and nose filled with blood, mouth still filled with blood, ears filled with blood. And I had no clue in general.
Yeah.
I just wasn't with it. I remember Davey said on the last time he was on that it just wasn't Scott. I don't even remember Davey Cole.
Right.
I remember seeing Robbie the day that he's talking about, and I literally turned to Robbie and was like, "Hey Robbie," and then it's like switched off again. So yeah, my daughter had just been born, Georgia, my youngest daughter. She had just been born, and I didn't. As the days went on, I didn't want the kids seeing me how I was, because I didn't know what the outcome was going to be. And then you start understanding the severity of it, and you speak to surgeons and doctors. And my dad basically told me what was going on, and it bleeds to my brain, and what they were going to do next, and those kind of things. And at this stage, still being fed by tubes, and you're stuck in a bed, basically.
Yeah.
So yeah, then that period of time, it was just horrific, Sally. Horrific, really, really bad. And there was one moment where I was back on my feet again, and I went and asked the doctor if I could go home. I just knew, just really emotional. And I asked the doctor, could I go home? And they were like, "No, Scott." So I'd had a scan the previous day. And they were like, "No, Scott, we have to keep an eye on you." I was like, "No, well, I just want to get home to my kids." And they were like, "Listen, with concerns, you're not be getting home." And I was like, "Well, what are the concerns?" And it said to me that the bleeds had doubled in size. I was like, "Well, what does that mean?"
Yeah.
And we're like, "We're doing all we can."
So vague, isn't it? Like,
I was like, "Can you give me something more than that?"
Yeah.
Like, and I remember asking him, and I'm my rubber lip going, and the bottom lip going. And I was like, "Will I see my kids again?" And they were like, "We're doing all we can."
so mad to think that you kind of just want to clear, like, I don't know if this is like a footballer's thing or it's a man's thing or something, but you kind of just want to know that, like, just tell me, like, as much as it may affect you.
Yeah.
You're kind of like, just give me it straight up, and I can be like, "Oh right, it's that going extreme," or it's, "Don't leave me hanging," because then you're, "Oh my god, this is going to happen, or this could happen." You're all over the place.
Straight away in my head, I was like, "I'm not seeing my kids."
Yeah.
And it was like, how do you do that? So that kind of emotion, and you're lying in a bed in a hospital, as in floods of tears. And it was like, how did I go to play football and end up like this?
Yeah.
I couldn't get it. Couldn't understand it. And I lifted the phone, and I was like, the phone's not working. But I could hear her voice. But I couldn't hear.
Right.
So I was like, right, okay, and changed the ears, and I was talking away. I was talking to my dad, and just kind of asking him what the crack was. And as a parent would, he's trying to reassure you everything's fine. And I was going, well, the bleeds have doubled in my head. How, that can't be fine. then that was the first kind of time I realised I had no hearing. So next morning then, long story short, I went to sleep, woke up the next day, and I said to the doctor, I was like, I can't hear. They were like, it's congealed blood, you bled a lot out your ears and blah, blah, blah. I was like, nah. I've sat all night clearing out my ears clear. I can't hear anything. There's something wrong. Can't hear anything. That stage was freaking out. Yeah, it's like I've lost my hearing. The other thing, my right eye, the nerves all around here were all are affected. So I was seeing you here and then seeing you up here. So I couldn't really.
Yeah.
I was all over the place. I had vertigo. So yeah, it was just minging, Johnny. Really, really stinking. And
did they tell you in there the process of how it happened? Like, did your dad tell you, like, you were at the game and there was a shoulder challenge and you hit the wall and you tried to get you around, and the severity of the things that happened on the pitch, he was the one that told you this?
But I still couldn't comprehend how you go head first on the wall.
Yeah.
I couldn't get it. And as touched on, it wasn't really about it.
Yeah, no, 100%.
But yeah, it was almost like I just wanted out to see my kids.
Yeah.
I'm on home to see my kids. And that was basically my own concern. And I mean this 1,000,000 times over, I would go through what I went through than go through what my mum, dad, and my missus went through. Because I just had to worry about me.
Yeah.
To see that happen, like my dad was at the game, to see that happen, and without the likes of Brendan McGill and Dennis Mulholland, Joe Crawford, you could potentially be going to watch a game where your son passes away.
And it's so mental to think that can be an option. Do you know what I mean?
It's bonkers, and to witness that, and even to think about the stuff that he must have been thinking at the time. And Davey as well. Like, I never really considered the impact it would have had on Davey. And when he spoke about it when he was on your show, it's totally understandable that you feel it. It's part of your family nearly.
Yeah.
And you feel responsible for it. But as I say, all I had to do was worry about myself at that stage, and never really understood the impact it had on everybody else around me. And but without the likes of Brendan McGill and Dennis Mulholland, Joe Crawford, I don't know why I would be here, Dolly. I'm so thankful to them.
When you sort of, especially I say when you kind of come around to yourself, how long after the incident are you able to understand fully that, right, I've got this hearing impairment probably forever, and you probably had to learn a few things to get yourself back to potentially being the old Scott?
Yeah, it was a long journey. I understood the impact of it, but I didn't understand the difficulties that came with it. So with a head injury, you have your change in personality and the fatigue and all those kind of things hit me harder than I ever anticipated. Plus the emotional aspect of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I understood then the damage, but I still had to go for checkups and scans. So it was always in my head, right, well, they've doubled in size once.
Okay.
What happens if they bleed again?
Your just head's massive.
Yeah. Yeah, so it was always that kind of worry and sense of, am I going to be okay? Am I going to get a proper way of living again?
Yeah.
Because some of the sights you've seen in that hospital were, like, I was so fortunate, Johnny.
Yeah.
So fortunate, and from simple things, and just so grateful to have come through the other side of it.
One thing I want to touch on was when we had David on, after a period of time where you get back, so you're ready to go, and he talks about the conversation that you two had. He says that you didn't fall out, but you had quite a heavy argument, and I think he phrased it as, you're being selfish at that stage. Talk to me about the process that you get to at that stage where you want to come back.
He's 100% right.
Right.
Without question. I was selfish. Looking at it now, it was a huge mistake on my part. And something that I shouldn't have done. But at that time, I either did that and had a focus, or I lay in bed depressed, bringing everybody else down around me and being moody and all those kind of things. So I'm so stubborn. So stubborn. And once I got that in my head, Johnny, I was going back to play, provided that I got my final scan that said I was okay to go back and play.
Yeah.
So I was getting up and going walks when I shouldn't have been anywhere near it. Yeah. I remember walking one night up the station road, Green Island, bit of a hill, and the sweat was flying off me. And I was like, I'm gonna pass out. And it wasn't like a brisk walk; it was like a casual walk. I was like, but I've already told people that I'm going back and getting fit, so just do it. Shut up, get on it. And that was my mentality from then on in. It was like, just do all you can to get back playing and prove people wrong. And I was a selfish prick. That's me being completely honest. My mum and dad fell out with me. My missus, she didn't fall out with me. She wasn't happy.
Probably trying to support you in a way, but at the same time, the realization of more like wise up.
Yeah, I think she understood my reasoning why. But yeah, I shouldn't have put that on them. Should never have put that on them. Like my dad went and seen that happen, and then I'm going back to play. Like,
yeah,
what are you doing? And even the pressure put on Davey to get back in, but say I'm stubborn. I was like, I'm doing this. As soon as he signed me off to play, I'm coming back to play. Are you going to sign me?
Do you think that if you didn't have the mentality that you did at that stage to come back and play, you would have been the same now? Do you think that your process, the training, the extra, let's say the walks, getting back running, getting the wee milestones more, say, you've hit all those, you got back playing, you got your fitness back, you got your football back. What happens? Do you ever think that you may have had like a limp, or you may have had something, you may have just never turned out the same way?
In terms of, I know I would have been depressed. I know I would have like delved deep into depression, Johnny. At times it was too much, and football and my family were kind of the only things that were keeping me going.
Yeah.
But in terms of thinking that I could go back and play, that was always a fear. But again, I was stubborn. I'll be like, I'm fine.
Yeah.
I'm dead on. Trust me. Just leave it with me. Relax. I'll be fine. And I remember going around. So I went and had my scan on a Friday. And I had to bring my wife with me, so that I wouldn't go home with her eyes and all. She had to drive too, and took my license on me. So your mum was like, yeah, that's fine. She was like, does he need to wear headgear? Nope. It's not going to protect you. He's fine.
Yeah.
Everything's healed the way it should have healed. Just be careful. Right, no problem.
What can you say? Yeah, just be careful. Like, what does that mean? So
you'll do me.
Elbows you in the head, you're done.
So I went that day, new pair of boots. That was me.
Ready to go.
I was like, David, I'm ready to go here. Because I've been doing pre-season with no contact, which was minging.
Yeah, okay.
Like, you're doing all the running, and the games are starting, and you can't do it.
That's whenever I found that I was actually okay at football. No one could tackle me. Here, you can't touch Johnny, and I'm like, I'm classy. I'm doing step overs and all.
I know, bounce man. So yeah, at that stage, it was just like, right, okay, let's go and play and see where you're at. And then I went in and played a couple of 20s games, and I was like, all right. It was a lot more calculated when I went back and played.
Okay.
Thought about things a wee bit more. More controlled. But really early on in it, Johnny, I knew it wasn't the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Did you play in the game we played Portadown in the League Cup in the extra time?
Not at that stage, no. I was away, so this whole incident had happened, and I'd left.
Oh, you went on?
I'd finished the year before this happened.
So I got back and played, and then really early doors we played Portadown. I think it was Galty tried to hook one and hit me right in the cupping. But I had like a proper vertigo attack.
Right.
I ran about like doing this to try and sell.
Or like trying like thinking.
Just right.
Like, if you had like water in your ear type thing, you're like, get it out type thing.
So it all comes from your inner ear. So I kind of found a way of doing it, but I couldn't get it to shift. Again, I was stubborn, I wouldn't come off. And I tried to just cover it up like everyone's fine.
Yeah.
Like Kiki actually scored in the last minute. We were getting beat 1-0 and Kiki scored in the last minute. And part of me is like, oh no, we have extra time here. But I was delighted obviously we scored.
You're buzzing.
They had to run in a full time, they'd only be sick to then come back out and play extra time. And it's kind of those moments where you're kind of going, like, you're a tube.
Yeah.
Why'd you do this? You've done it now, stop.
Yeah.
But kind of thought I could manage it and get through it, and it was just too much.
How long after that sort of time frame do you think I'm out?
Yeah, well, I played that whole season.
Just finished it off.
Played that whole season, and I can't remember who we were playing, but so it was deaf in my right ear, and the ball came, and I could hear someone, or I couldn't hear someone come to hit it. So I jumped up, and I hit it, and they hit me. Right. And my head like was throbbing, bouncing, and I said to Davey that day, that's me done.
He's probably saying, going, thank fuck you said this. Like, he will say for a year now that
he was probably delighted.
Yeah.
And as I say, he was unbelievable with us. Like, throughout that whole experience, he was top drawer. Like, so my missus obviously just given birth, that happens. And then it was like bombarded with calls and texts, and Davey took all that off her.
Yeah.
Constantly checking up on my dad and myself, obviously, and just, he was top drawer. Like,
he's not a man for the limelight. Like,
no.
Trying to get him on the podcast was so difficult. Like, but
what a man.
What a man.
Incredible.
Yeah.
He's fantastic. So, but yeah, I didn't really understand the impact it had on him.
When you finish at Larne, you know probably leading up this that you're done at the end of the year. Have you already started the process of going into coaching, or was it like, I'll finish this now, I'll start getting my certificates, my licenses, and then this is the route I want to take? Or was it like, do you know what, I just want to come away from football for 6 months, a year, and then get myself a fresh?
I didn't want to come away from it.
No.
And it was only kind of when I started going back in, I started thinking kind of as a coach. So I think that summer then I started doing my C license, and Davey had left that summer as well. I think he stepped away from Larne at that stage, and we were actually at his son's christening.
Right.
And big Stephen Seaton, who was county antrim coach there, he had come in and helped Davey towards the end of that season, and I got on really well with Steph, and he asked me to come up and take county antrim, help him out.
This would have been the Milk Cup sort of
Super Cup.
Yep. Yeah.
And I was like, flip, really? Happy days. I would love to. So I went up there, and I remember my first night, Johnny, I was breaking it.
Right.
Breaking it. Because it was Jimbo, it was Steph, Davey, Dermy McVeigh, and Jim Irvine.
Yeah.
But Dermy and Jim, I think, were away to the European games.
Really fun.
So Steph was like, where you go, Scotty, take it. I was like, what?
Straight in.
Just take it. And like, you're talking 15-year-olds, but they're the best 15-year-olds in the country.
But they're also like, you think you're going to start as like under 11, under 12. This is like,
Johnny, like, these boys were sensational.
Yeah.
Like, unbelievable. And I was like, oh, I swear, I was soaked just even thinking about it. But brilliant. Really, really loved it. Steph just gave me an opportunity to go in and coach, and then you're able to learn from him and Jimbo and Dermy, Davey, and kind of steal wee bits and do all that. And kind of came back going, you know what, that's for me. Loved that. that first group, they went on and won the Milk Cup. Yeah, they were tremendous. And then Davy took the Carrick job and asked me would I be interested in getting in and helping Colin Telford and the under-20s. I was like, happy days, it's 5 minutes away, and known all the young lads at Lauren too who weren't getting into the first team, so it was like, right, okay, the likes of William Hassan and Matty Mulholland, and I was able to bring them in and kind of start working with a really good group of lads. And Carrick 20s at that stage too were getting humped every week. I was thinking to myself, well, go in and the only way's up.
Yeah.
And then he work commitments or whatever, he couldn't do it. So it was like, Scotty, do you want to take this? And I was like, sweet, I went, aye, happy days. So, and then that's where kind of did my licenses then through that, and built a really, really good under-20s team who were really competitive in the league, and kind of known that like there's maybe 6 or 7 of these are going to end up having Irish League careers, or
Close to
it.
Yeah.
So it then led on lovely into that first team opportunity.
You actually get a opportunity quite quicker than you think. Then you go in as an interim manager. You get off to an absolute flying start that day. Talk to me.
I thought it was Pep Guardiola that day.
I knew it was coming. I was like, see, once I seen the score, me, Huggy's taking the lead here. He's
Flip
like,
me.
this is a gift.
Flip me. So, for people who don't know, that was the COVID season, I think, wasn't it?
Yes, would have been.
So I think Carrick would have got relegated that year. Really, real bad run of form. And we were playing Glenavon, who were going for 7th for the European playoff game. Gary had an unbelievable squad. And I was like, right, okay, sure. Why not? Like, they're used to getting beat. We'll go in here and have a rattle. So I was like, listen, lads, go out and play. Why not? Go and show what you're about. Bang, 2-0 up. I was like,
This is best team talk ever.
this is great. I was like, he's all right there, lads. It was fantastic. I think we got to about an hour at 2-0. And this is where you're saying about going in too early and getting it before probably should have. And at that stage, I should have just went 5-4-1.
Yeah.
Seen the game out. But we just kept going and back and
You're
forth.
thinking $2, a couple more in us.
You're creating chances and counter-attack, and I was like, we're all right, we're comfortable here. And then I think it was Andy Hall bang 2 into the top stands, just like a minute after each other.
Yeah.
And then within about 15 minutes, it was 5-2. I was like, how did this happen? Blink of an eye, and then Gary, I look over and Gary's like, I smoking. Like, I dead on, young man. So the game finished 6-3. Like, if you'd have paid your money in that day, it was well worth it. But it was kind of where you learn a wee bit on the spot. So it was good fun. Davey McLendon asked me or texted me that night actually. So I was an entertaining one.
So you go.
I messed up a wee bit.
But that leads you on nicely to your role then. So allies before, teammates. You get brought in as an assistant to Stewardy. That's a combination for the ages, to be honest.
It worked out so well. Like, I had a really good relationship with the club, and I think the club had seen my progression as a coach and playing or getting players in the first team, and kind of seen there was a pathway for himself in the first team. And then obviously when Stuart made a contact saying he was going for a job, I was like, happy days.
Yeah, I'd be really interested in coming in.
So he was like, Scotty, will you go in with me? And I was like, 100%. You said yes? Yeah, we'll go and do it. And everybody doubted us, Johnny.
Yeah.
Everybody. It was like Stuart King, unproven at this level, and he's brought in an even more inexperienced or assistant manager with him, and it was just like music to our ears, really. All the articles in the paper, it was like, right, we'll prove you wrong. And for 3-4 years, we just did that.
Yeah. Slowly progressed.
Yeah.
Pretty much every year.
It was like a full rebuild when we first came in. I think we had 7 players who we kept on, and they were players who wanted to play for Carrick Rangers and give you everything.
Yeah.
And then we brought in real quality, like Jim Irvine, David Cushley, and lads who set standards, and didn't allow the other lads to drop their standards. They looked after their changing room and were just a joy to work with.
Kind of makes the manager's job a hell of a lot easier, doesn't it? When you don't have to worry about that extra side.
So much, all the drama. You're kind of giving it to your senior players to just extinguish before it gets to... Because it's hard enough. It's hard enough to manage without extra drama from staff or your changing room. You don't need it.
Fans and staff and above and all that jazz.
Social media, all that carrying on as well. So, yeah, we had an unbelievable group. And then year on year, we just built on that. And really, really good combination of young lads who were hungry to go and step into senior football, but learn from the best. Like David Cushy, Jim Irvine. Like, if you're an attacking player and you're going and working off Cush, it's just like...
Man has one of the best feet to ever hit the Irish
ridiculous.
League. Yeah.
And then you've one of the best defenders ever to play in the Irish League.
The wee man's a literal... I always used to describe it, even when we played the guard, he's the closest thing I've ever met to a rat. I swear. And if anybody... if anybody has played with Jim or been around him, he's the hardest person to get past in a 1v1 situation.
Tremendous.
And you can't, he's glued to you, and he's just nipping. And you're like, how have you done this?
We bomb down low and...
It is, and he just rats away at you, and you're just like, Jesus.
So
good. Like, just get away.
So good.
Phenomenal as a defender.
So then, like, year on year, following year, I think we brought in Andy Mitchell, like Curtis Allen. You're already that core of, like, Rich and Denning
was already there.
Stanley.
Kyle Sherry was already there.
Kyle Sherry, Stevie Gordon's.
Probably still one of the most underrated midfielders.
Absolutely.
Brilliant.
Absolutely, and it just gives you everything, and just... So, and we built a changing room that was just so together. And it was just like a mentality. It was us against everybody.
Yeah.
And everybody doubted you. Go and prove them wrong. And that's the way it was. And it was... I mean, I wish I had been a player in that changing room.
Yeah.
It was class. Like, I talked about my career going all through and the changing rooms I was in. And that one, I would have loved to have been a part of. Because just that kind of togetherness and closeness and never say die attitude and looking after each other. It was phenomenal. It was brilliant.
Talk to me about almost reaching Europe. Like, you're this far away from it. The progression is there year on year. Hands distance.
Yeah.
And then exiled. Almost there.
Well, that season, if you remember, we were beat 9-0 by a Cruise.
Yes, that's right.
We were beaten 9-0, and I think the takeover had just happened. Yeah. I remember looking at Sturdy going, if it's 9-0, Johnny, we're like,
I thought it looked good.
15 minutes left, and we were like, this isn't good, mate.
Yeah.
And then our next game was away to Windsor, away to Linfield. You kind of just go, oh my God. Kick us while we're down, sure. We went to Linfield and drew 3-3 that day, and that was a turning point. And I've heard some real daft comments about we should have finished 6th. We could have finished 6th.
Yeah.
But we had no right to go and beat Glenavon's, Ballymeena's. You just didn't have that. Like, you have to remember what you are and where you are. We had it in our changing room that anything was possible. We can go and do that. But to say we should have finished 6th was bananas. So yeah, we went on a really good run. I think in the split we won 4 out of 5 games. I think in that season we actually beat Dungannon 3 times as well, which kind of unheard of when you look at
how well they're doing.
How well they've kicked on. So, yeah, again, like the last day you're going to Glenavon knowing if you're not beat, you have an opportunity of going into the playoff game. But we were too short.
Yeah.
In terms of our squad, we went to a cruise that day, and I think we had 2 senior players on the bench. And you're having to bring young lads on, and it's hard for them. It's not fair on them.
Yeah. Especially in a game where it's like, we get this, we're on to something. Pressure's massive.
Changes so many things if you were able to get that. But we looked at the cruise squad that day, and they were bringing Big Chicken on, and real experienced lads, and you're kind of going,
That's the difference.
Yeah. And we were really short, and so then that season, then in the summer, we knew we were short, but we just replaced like for like in terms of numbers. We needed more depth. So we had 3 long-term injuries. David Cursey actually played in that European game with like a broken ankle. Don't know how.
Right.
He played in that game. Ben Tilney had a knee issue.
He still has it, doesn't he? He
Still does.
Hasn't got it fixed.
Still does, yeah. And what player? So he was going to be a long-term one, and Rhys Glendenning, who was like, talk about a gap filler, we could stick Rhys in nets.
Yeah.
They just asked him to go and play somewhere. He did 8 out of 10 every week. So with those 3 long-term players, and they're players that you're kind of depending on.
Yeah.
So we knew the start of the season it was going to be really difficult. And it turned out to be that.
Yeah. It's hard for me to probably say this, but I think I've spoken about it before as well, that people understand their club and the team, and people get very quickly ahead and think that after a few results, we're good. And I think that's probably the naivety of being a fan. Whereas when you're in it, you kind of know the wheels are rattling away at certain stages. Like you're maybe scraping a wee 1-0 win here, or you're getting the penalty in the last minute that helps you, and you're going, this is going to fall to bits here.
It's fine margins. Fine margins. And when you're winning games, you find a way of winning games. And it works the other way.
100%.
And we found a way to lose games. We went to Windsor, so we can't remember who. I think we lost 1-0 to Portadown. And then we were going to Windsor, and we kind of thought, right, okay. Cruise game last year, beat 9-0, went to Windsor, drew 3-3. That could kickstart us again. And we went to Windsor. It was 0-0 to like the 97th minute. And Kirkstock won the stanch. Free kick. 97th minute. And it was like somebody just burst in the balloon. It was like, oh my God, has that just happened? Because then you've kind of broken that rut. All of a sudden you're still in it.
Yeah.
And you're going, where are we getting our next win?
Yeah. And then the fixtures are piling up. You're sitting looking, going, struggling here. That's going to be
can't change it. Can't change it. You don't have a depth, and you've 4 or 5 hurt, and kind of going, and you just get a feeling, and you get a feeling from some of the players. You go, you know what, you're not with us.
Alright, like you quickly start to see a change in attitudes or how they are towards you. Even.
Yeah, you're not with us. On the flip side of that, you get boys who are going too much and trying too hard.
Right, okay.
Who understand it and get the severity of it and all your kind of loyalties and all that carrying on. But there was some that you just questioned. You're not all in here. And if you have that, then you're in trouble.
See, that period because it was we had kind of got away from that slightly. You were in it. Is that probably the toughest part of football for you?
Yeah, it was horrible.
And obviously the incident.
Yeah, no.
As a coach, you're sitting going like, playing career coaching, and you're going, this isn't really what you signed up for, is it? Like,
it's horrible because you're coming home and your whole weekend's ruined, and like you spend so much time at your club, and
you see them people near enough more than you see your family. Like you're working all day. They're there 3 nights a week near sometimes.
Johnny, I was there 5 nights a week, and like you have your core who you're at the grounds with, and all your volunteers who are kind of going, you're going to be all right, you're going to be okay, and then you've other ones who have just got ahead of themselves, like massively got ahead of themselves. Like we were in European playoff game, and now you're second bottom, and you're kind of going, well, have a look, come back to reality a wee bit. But we all do it. We all do it. I've done it with Man United this year.
Shouting at the TV.
Aye. Do you know what I mean? So, as a fan, you're paying your money in. I completely get it. You're entitled to your opinion, and but yeah, it's horrible, and it has such a drain on your home life. And I was coming home every Saturday night. Like anybody who's involved in football, I have the utmost respect to them, because it just takes over your whole life.
Yeah,
your whole weekend's ruined. My missus knew, like, seeing the scores, she was like, "Oh, here we go."
Yeah,
I'll not speak to him for half
I'll
an
leave
hour.
him here, take the kids out in the car.
Aye, so
And you don't want to be like that too.
No.
'Cause I was the same, and I have been for, well, probably for not the last couple of years, but for a long time. And football's kind of that's what it is. It's all about me. It's all about football. And you go home, and Lucy knew, like, she was just like, I wouldn't speak to her for about 3 or 4 hours. And she just knew to stay away from me.
I know.
Like,
And then when you come out of it,
yeah,
you kind of go,
what was I doing?
"What was it doing?"
Yeah,
Yeah,
took me to get a dog.
Yeah.
And I was like, dog makes me feel happy now. I'm like,
absolutely,
it was.
absolutely, mate. There's nothing like them, and but you'll know that's where your knee. Like you come out of it and you go, "Listen, football carries on. Be all right."
100%. And the thing, most people don't miss you.
No.
You know what I mean? You're
They
done.
don't like.
And while you're there, it's enjoyable, but as soon as you step out, it's kind of like, oh,
We
played.
So we left on the Tuesday night, and then they went and beat Clonville on the Saturday. So you're kind of going,
Yeah. Come on.
Alright,
Okay.
okay.
But
As you
couldn't
say.
put the effort in for me, no.
Aye, but it's just one of those things. It's football. It'll happen to better than us, and it's a shame because we'd built an unbelievable group of lads.
Yeah.
Worked so hard and instilled a real good work ethic, and it didn't fail, Johnny, down to lack of trying.
Yeah.
It just run its course, I think, and it was a right time for everybody to part ways.
One of the last things I want to touch on is, like, the last time I seen you down there, and I always see you, and it's always hugs, it's always smiles. And when you're talking there about going home on a Saturday and being upset, I know that that's not the way you want to be. Because anytime you get a result, it's usually a wee sing song and a wee bottle of red somewhere. Talk to me.
That's true. This is true, Bill. This is true, Bill, and it's kind of took off a wee bit. So every Saturday night, the flip side of coming home and not speaking when you lose a game. When I won a game, I would have come home with a couple of bottles of red wine. And it was like, right, oh, let's go Chinese, Celine Dion in the back. And that was it. And honestly, Johnny, my kids hate Celine Dion now.
You flat her out.
Hate it. See that run of games in the split? It's just like, oh no, Dad's coming home, Celine Dion will be on all night.
Headphones in.
Brilliant. So it was just me, my wife, a wee dog, bottle of red wine, Celine Dion blasting. It was brilliant.
That's the positive side of things, isn't
Brilliant.
it? When you do win, it makes you happy.
I haven't listened to Celine Dion in nearly a year now, so
She's ready. We're going to come back out.
I'll maybe play it in the road in the car on the road. So,
is it something that you want to do again? If the right opportunity came at you, would you want to go in as a coach? Would you want to go in as an assistant or a manager, or are you happy enough to be?
I'm content at the minute.
Yeah.
I'm doing a little bit of coaching with Chris McKee. In his academy, I'm doing a little bit just to keep ticking over, and if the right one comes up, whether it be a coach, whether it be assistant, whether it be a manager, then I'll go all in again.
Yeah.
But it has to be the right one. I'm not
Somewhere, hopefully 10 minutes away from my house.
I'm not going to rush into something just because it takes over your life.
Yeah.
And as I say, I'm content at the minute, but if the right one comes in, then yeah, you might see me again.
Good. Well, listen, thank you. Mate, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for coming on. Loved it. Hugs only.
Yes,
So
100%.
hugs only, mate.
100%, mate.
Love you. Oh. Join us next week on the On the Spot Football podcast with me, Johnny McMurray, when we have another fabulous guest. One that's probably scored one of the best goals in Irish League history. Can you guess who it is?